It's late in the afternoon and I'm beat. I started my day at 4:30 a.m., then an hour and a half commute into a full day of work. I'm craving chocolate to get me through the rest of the afternoon. So I grab a Snickers bar. Peanuts are healthy, right? Welcome to 7410 Style. That was me in my former life before 7410 Style. There are some foods that fall into a different classification, one that can cause addiction like eating or drinking, weight gain, and chronic disease, yet we crave them or can't stop eating them. Let's find out more. When I think of addiction, I think of drugs, alcohol, and other substances, not food. Food addiction has symptoms like not being able to control how much you eat, continuing to eat even though there are negative consequences, like weight gain, repeated unsuccessful attempts to quit, and needing more and more of the food to get an effect, like overcoming sad feelings or feeling good. So how can we characterize addictive foods? This study found that highly processed foods with added amounts of fat and/or refined carbohydrates such as sugar, white flour, were most likely to be associated with the signs of addictive-like eating. The researchers identified 3 characteristics of addictive foods. 1. Processing. Highly processed foods are altered to be particularly rewarding. Chemical additives make these foods more appealing, palatable, and stable. Palatability, by the way, is how pleasant or acceptable something is to the taste or mind. 2. Glycemic load. Foods with high glycemic load are those that have a high glycemic index and cause a rapid rise in blood glucose levels. Think of white bread, cakes, and cookies. 3. Fat. Fat enhances palatability. It is related to the brain's reward system, chemicals like dopamine and opioids, natural endogenous opioids produced in the brain. These chemicals are released when we eat or drink something that is palatable and makes us feel good. Of the 35 foods evaluated, the authors found 9 out of the 10 foods at the top of the list were highly processed and high in both fat and refined carbohydrates. Soda, not diet, was the exception, which is highly processed and high in refined carbohydrates, but not fat. The top 5 addictive foods were pizza, chocolate, chips, cookies, and ice cream. Of the top 15 foods, only cheese and bacon were not highly processed, though you could argue that they are actually highly processed. Also keep in mind that there are whole or minimally processed versions of most of these foods. So yes, foods can be addictive. What's interesting is how this information is used to drive sales. Ultra-processed foods are engineered to trigger our addictive-like eating. 5 characteristics. 1. Many ingredients, ones that you wouldn't find in a kitchen or in nature. Things like dyes, colors, flavor enhancers, defoaming, anti-caking, and glazing agents, and emulsifiers can create an attractive and hyper-palatable product that is ready to eat or drink in an instant. 2. Processes like extrusion and molding, which you can expect to find at a plastic toy manufacturer, but not a food company, to make the product more appealing and durable. 3. Salty and/or sugary, and usually with lots of fat. This drives hyperpalatability. 4. Low-cost ingredients like high fructose corn syrup and hydrolyzed proteins to maximize profits. 5. Branding. Usually bright, colorful, and enticing packaging, especially for children, and intense marketing to promote overconsumption. Let's take a closer look at my Snickers bar. That first bite into a Snickers bar and you taste the sweet, rich milk chocolate outer shell that mixes with the roasted peanuts floating in caramel, then finishes into the light, fluffy, sweet nougat. Sweet, salty, crunchy, and chewy with the right amount of fat. Sounds like the perfect concoction for a food addiction. There is plenty of fat in a Snickers bar between the cocoa butter, milk fat, and palm oil. Milk fat to make the product creamier and smoother. Palm oil to enhance the flavor and creaminess while helping to preserve the freshness. There are also ingredients that drive the glycemic load: sugar, corn syrup, and lactose. Corn syrup helps with texture and freshness and is cheaper and sweeter than sugar. Lactose adds sweetness, creaminess, and texture to candy bars. Then there are those additives: lactose, soy lecithin, palm oil, and artificial flavor. Soy lecithin helps to mix water and oil together and prevent them from separating. This improves texture, appearance, and shelf life. Clearly, this bar is engineered to promote addictive-like eating, not to provide nutrition. How do you recognize others to be able to steer clear of them? Here are 4 things you can look for and what to do about them. Number 1, if the box says healthy. On a box of protein bars, you might see the amount of protein prominently displayed, or on a cereal box, the amount of whole grains. Be sure to double check the nutrition information for how much sugar and what forms have been added. Number 2, if you find you can't stop eating or drinking it, sodas are often in this category and can cause strong cravings. Water should always be our first choice for hydration. If the bubbles are the reason for your craving, there are naturally flavored carbonated and seltzer waters without any added sugar or sugar substitutes. Number 3, if you don't find some ingredients in a kitchen or in nature, like stevia-glycosides are around 150 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. Makes you wonder why we would ever need such a substance. There are healthier, natural sweet substitutes like maple syrup. Number 4, if you see a lot of ads or commercials for it, or heavy branding, like relieving hunger or being hangry with a Snickers bar, or Tony the Tiger with Frosted Flakes. Become aware of the marketing and take a look at the ingredients behind the slick ads. We don't eat a perfect whole foods plant-based diet, but we do eat mostly whole foods, totally plant-based, and it has been amazing for our mental, physical, and spiritual health, freeing ourselves from food addictions and giving us a joy and vitality for living, especially knowing that animals don't have to suffer and waste from dairy farming can be reduced. What ultra-processed or addictive food have you been able to kick? We'd love to hear about it. Please leave it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter, 7410 Expanded, for a whole foods, plant-based recipe and weekly encouragement on this journey of a healthy, cruelty-free, compassionate life. Link is in the description below. We really do appreciate your support. Please like, share, and subscribe for more. Let's be mindful of ultra-processed food products and remember to take it one day at a time until it's 7 days a week, forever 10.